Welcome to the visual talk series put on by FMVA and then hosted also by the Plains Art Museum. Tonight we get to hear Amber Parsons give you a wonderful speech, and in February we have Eric Johnson presenting. So thank you all for coming, enjoy refreshments, and without further ado, here's Amber.
Hello. Yay. I'm Amber Parsons. I'm here to talk to you about my work. So I kind of wanted to talk about me as an artist, and I feel like I'm an art in process, I guess, because the last few years I've had a lot of changes in my life. I've become a mother and changed studios, and I feel like that's really caused my work to grow quite a bit in the last 2 years, I feel personally. So I want to talk a little bit. Does it go over here? How do you change it, John? You just push this? I'm pushing it. Let's see. There it is. Okay. So I guess I wanted to talk about problem solving, something I've realized as my work has started to grow. Sometimes I feel like a ceramic engineer. I have a problem that I need to solve, and I have to figure out the means to do so. So I look around and see what there is available and try to make things work. My motherhood has changed my work quite a bit, and then just how all of those changes have shown me how important process is. And let's see. And then I guess just to give you a little background on me, I guess I view myself as a ceramic artist. When people work with clay, they might consider themselves potters, but I feel like I'm a ceramic artist mostly because I don't just enjoy throwing on the wheel, but I also enjoy hand building quite a bit, and I try to incorporate that in a lot of my techniques. Some examples in the back kind of show how I cross the barrier of wheel thrown and hand built. I graduated from MSUM 2009 with a BA in ceramics, and that same year I graduated, I opened Midwest Mud, and that was open for about 5 years. And we closed down once I found out I was going to be a mother, so it kind of made me have some changes in my life. But I'll talk about my early work first. While I was at Midwest Mud, here's some pieces that I created while I was there. The one on the right is a set of dishes. I did probably about 30 of these same dishes for Unglued. I don't know if you guys have heard of Unglued before. It's a craft fest that's actually put on here at the Plains. I used some graphic design to create my decals, and then the decal that's on that plate, the hummingbird, is a red iron oxide decal that's put on as a third firing. And then the other set is butter dishes that I had made. And I'm just kind of showing you that I started to mass produce a lot of work while I was at Midwest Mud, but still using a high fire clay. Still sticking with the early years, I did a lot of hand building. These are kind of some examples. I really love making large animal heads. Someday I'd kind of hope that to have a show of just animal heads, but it's been really hard to get back to hand building since I've been doing a lot of mass producing. So I haven't really gotten to do a lot of animal heads lately. And so after I closed Midwest Mud, I had a little bump in the road, which kind of made me come to that decision. I have to give a shout out to my studio mates. Studio mates are really important, I think, having good ones at least. Because while I was pregnant, I had to close down Midwest Mud, and they really came together. And I actually had my first daughter, Amelia, the same time that we closed the studio. And it was such a huge undertaking that my studio mates had to clean out Midwest Mud. It was kind of crazy. So I just wanted to give my studio mates a kind of a shout out because they've been with me since I graduated. Let's see. So these are my 2 children. So I had Amelia in 2013, and that was it caused my work to change in such a huge way because, wow, you don't have a lot of time when you have kids. But for some reason, I made such just a lot more work. I started mass producing. Like I curated Bacon Beer Fest. I probably made like 60 mugs for that in a week. I do a lot of dinner parties. I did CSA. I did Thanksgiving at our studio space for 30 people. And then having Tilly didn't really slow me down either, which I had her a year later. You have to get really creative in the studio when you're working and bringing your children there. I feel like so many times when I have like a goal set usually of how many pieces I'm going to make when I go to the studio, and to obtain that goal sometimes I have to do a lot of baby wearing and bouncing and trying to create the work while I'm moving. So you just have to problem solve as you go. I'd have to say that every moment really counts. Usually when I'm just even driving in the car, I'm thinking about problem solving, how I'm going to, if I have a project that I'm working on, like my timeline, setting up a timeline of how I'm going to get things done. My process has become a lot more solid. I feel like I have a regiment and how I make things, especially like my handles on my mugs. This last year, like I said, I did CSA, which is Community Supported Arts. So if you have never heard of CSA before, it was a really wonderful program to be part of. I made there's 50 tickets that are sold for a CSA. There's 50 shares. 9 different artists create work, so we all have to make 50 pieces of artwork. And then there's 3 different parties that you are part of where it's like a pickup point. So it's kind of like community supported agriculture, but community supported arts. This was a mental marathon for me, I have to say. Sometimes I'd be up for 24 hours straight making my pieces. I try to strategize so that nobody was getting the same piece when I made my work. So how I did that was, you can kind of see the variety there. I decided to do underglaze, like I did 10 different designs. So they would all be one set, and then I did 5 different glazes, and then I just mixed and matched them all together. So that way everybody's piece was unique for this party. We had it at Bangkok's Corner, which you can see on the left there. We had unlimited sushi, which was great. Bangkok's Corner was one of the presenters also for CSA. They were just kind of presenting Thai food and how it was served, and they're really ornate with the way that they present their food. It was a really wonderful program to be a part of. So kind of in the vein of mass production, I'm kind of showing you my process. So this was my work in progress for our Thanksgiving feast, which we had 30 people roughly there at my studio. And I have this idea where I want to give people an art experience. And we all experience things through eating and socializing that way. So I basically screen printed all of these plates. I used a stencil, and then I ran underglaze over top of it. I slab rolled all of the plates, and then I pressed it to kind of make a galley for the plate. And then on the other side there, on the left side, is the finished plate on the table. It was a really fun time when you get, I don't know, maybe 12 kids up in your studio space running around. It's memories forever, I guess. So sometimes I call myself, my boyfriend would laugh at me because he's going to school for engineering, but a ceramic engineer. I, for a long time, had this idea where I wanted to create negative space in a flower vase, and the one on the right there is kind of an example of that. How I created that negative space, which I failed so many times trying to make this piece. But I took one of those flower, like you would put stems, flower stems in, styrofoam cone. It was a styrofoam cone. And then I took a icing bag and put it over top of it and drew my design. And then I cake piped slip trail over top of that, and I let it dry to a perfect, not too dry, not too wet consistency where I could remove it and then stick it on the piece that I'd thrown. So it held up all on its own, and I don't know, I was so amazed. My jaw almost hit the floor when it actually came through the kiln perfect. And then the one on the left there is just one of my recent mugs that I've made. Again, using the cake piping, which has become pretty strong in my work lately. On the handle, I've really nailed my handles, I think, in my work because I've made so many of them. I actually hand build my handles instead of pulling them, just because it makes sense to me. I'm obsessed with pinching. One of my coworkers makes fun of me every time she sees my work on Facebook. She points out that there's pinching going on. So I pinch to make a texture on the handle. The handle is, it's like a screen printed transfer, underglaze transfer that I do onto the clay body. So there's a lot of elements going on there. And then I actually am kind of lazy. I don't like glazing because when you open up the kiln, you never know what's going to come out. And I am also kind of a control freak in that way, where I want to, like, I open up the kiln and I don't know if it's going to be an awesome Christmas gift or a Christmas gift that grandma might have given. But I mean, some people's grandmas are great. But so I do a lot of underglazing, and I just use a clear glaze over the top of it, so I have consistency, I guess. And that, I feel like I trumped my lack of glazing skills sometimes by doing that process. So to continue on to some of my current work, I've started, well, before I became a ceramic artist, I did tattoos for a long time, for about 4 years, and they're kind of starting to come through on my work, where if you remember that plate from the beginning, I do a decal transfer, which is a third process to my throwing. So it's a red iron oxide transfer. You have to use old printers, I found out, to do this, and I print it onto a laser. You have to use a laser copier. You print it onto water slide paper, and so I can actually do my drawings and add that as an element into my work, which I am really happy with the direction that this is going, and I hope to continue that. Even maybe take this kind of style and bring it into animal heads. I would like to revisit animal heads a lot in my future work. The one on the left there is a flower vase. It's actually on the back table there, where I used those decal transfers again. And then I kind of incorporated some metal work in my current work that's been kind of surfacing a lot lately. And then I've just been, one of my good friends, Carmen Rowe, I was having a hard time, like I just didn't know what I wanted to make. And as an artist, you need to kind of make a living too. And I found that mugs are just the way to go, because I use them as test tiles, basically. Like, no mug is really ever the same, but they have kind of the same form. So I try to hone in on my glazing skills by making just tons of mugs, which who doesn't want a good coffee mug? And none of them are really the same shape or size, and I feel like that's the way that people are as well. Everybody likes to hold their cup differently, and I usually tell people that if you feel like you can boss somebody around when you're holding your mug, it's a good mug. But yeah, so I use my mugs mainly as test tiles, and then I kind of see what works and which designs I like the most, and then I try to bring those forward into other bodies of work. So, and that's it. I talked really fast. So. Do you have questions at all? Yes.
Can you say anything about time economy, once time to relax? How much real time do you spend at the bench?
How much time do I spend in my studio? Oh.
And time to relax, the economy, time with the babies. Can you say anything about your time?
Oh, yes. So I try to make the most out of every second of the day. I work a full-time job at the hospital. I work as a phlebotomist, so I'm really fortunate that my job allows me to work from 4 a.m. till noon sometimes, and then from noon until 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. that is when I get my work done. So I schedule myself, like I usually have a number in my head. So when I think about training for a marathon, which I'm currently doing, usually I'll say the night before I'll wedge out 30, I'll weigh out 30 pieces of clay. And then the next day I know that I'm going to throw those 30 pieces. So I have to do that within a certain amount of time. And then I also am thinking in the studio, okay, so I'm gonna throw these mugs, but I also want my handles to be dried at the end so that I can just pop them right on so that they're all done. So in a day, usually in that time span, I can probably do about 50 mugs. And so the next day I'll underglaze, and then it'll just kind of waterfall into itself. So I try to use every moment possible. I don't know if that answers your question. Yeah? Okay.
Is it time to relax? Do you watch TV?
Oh, no, we don't. Yeah. We don't have TV at our house, actually. So we watch some YouTube, but we don't really watch it. We go to my boyfriend's mother's house on the weekend, and that's our TV time. But I go to bed usually right when I put my girls to bed at 8 p.m. and get up. I'm a morning person now. That is really amazing to some people that I can actually get up at 3 a.m. I've actually, because I'm training for the marathon, so I get up at 2 a.m. and then I go to the gym, and then I get to work. I have to leave the gym by 3 to get to work by 4. So I don't know, time, it's, I try to manipulate it all the time. So, did you have any other questions at all? Hey.
I guess my question is, why do you work so hard?
Why do I work so hard? I don't know. I'm obsessed with making things. Like when I go to the studio, sometimes so when I was doing CSA, I literally would be up for 24 hours sometimes. Like I'd go to work, then I'd come home and I wouldn't have to work the next day until 8, so I would stay up until 2 a.m. again, and I would be pinching. I pinched so many plates. My hand, I think I might have developed some sort of carpal tunnel or something, because I pinched, what would it be, 5 times 50, so 250 plates. It was a lot of pinching, and it really hurt. My sister, I'm so thankful for my family that comes and helps me. My sister, when she wants to hang out with me, I have to be doing something. I don't know. I don't really sit still most of the time. So, any other questions? Yeah, so thank you all for coming.